Now let's take a moment and discuss how to configure MongoDB for internal authentication between the members of a replica set or sharded cluster. There are two methods for internal authentication between nodes with MongoDB: keyfile-based authentication and X509 certificate-based authentication. Let's first walk through how to set MongoDB to use keyfile-based authentication. If you recall correctly, keyfiles use the ScramSha1 challenge response authentication mechanism. The keyfiles between the members of our replica set act as a shared password between each of the members. Keyfiles can be between 6 and 1024 characters in length and can only contain characters in the base64 set. Let's go ahead and generate our keyfile. Here I'm going to use the OpenSSL command to generate a random 1024 character string, random characters, base64 set. 755 ends up being 1024 characters with the base64 set. And then we just redirect this output to a keyfile called MongoDB-keyfile. Now that this keyfile has been created, the next thing we want to do is set this file to be read-only. So here I'm using chmod saying 400 for read-only, and then MongoDB keyfile, the keyfile we just created. Now that we have our keyfile ready to go, we can go ahead and create the members of our replica set. The first thing we're going to want to do is create a folder for each database. Here we have replica set 1, 2, and 3, each of which will have a subfolder called DB. The TAC-P option for make dir will automatically create folders if there's some kind of dependency that doesn't exist. Now that these folders have been created, we can go ahead and start our first member in our replica set. Here's the command to start our first node. We're saying MongoD. We're saying the REPL set option, giving a name to our replica set called myREPLSet. Of course, we're going to use dbpath, logpath. Since we're going to have 3 members in our replica set, we're going to go ahead and specify ports for each of them. I'm going to start with 27017. We're going to pass in the fork. And then, of course, we're going to pass in our key file that we just created. The first process has started successfully. Here's the second member of our replica set. The only thing I changed here was the file path and the port. And now we can start our last member. Here's the last member of our replica set. I just changed the path again and the port number again. And all 3 of our members are now started. We can now go ahead and use the Mongo shell to initiate the replica set. Since I used the default port for our first member of 27017, the Mongo shell automatically is going to connect to that first member. And from here, we can go ahead and initialize the replica set with rs initiate. The replica set has now been initiated, but if we try to add members to our replica set, we will fail. And this is because internal authentication automatically enables client authorization. So let's go ahead and use the localhost exception to create our first user and then authenticate against that user. So we'll need to switch to the admin database, and then we can go ahead and create our user. I'm creating a user called Kirby, whose password is password, with a root role. It was successfully added, and now we can go ahead and authenticate against Kirby. Here we go. I'm going to use db.auth, passing in Kirby and password. And you can see that we've successfully authenticated. And now we can go ahead and add the members of our replica set. So here I'm using replica set add, specifying the host of my machine and the port of our second member, which is 27018. You can see that it was successfully added. And I can just go ahead and add the third member of a replica set. Awesome. So now all the members of our replica set are using a shared key file for authentication, and we can verify that everything is good by running rs status. Here we go. Here are all the different members of our replica set. There's member 1, the primary, and we have our 2 secondaries.